Peas are a wonderful crop in the spring. Everybody loves them. And they're really easy to grow. Now I recommend the tallest ones you can find. They're just easier to harvest, easier to grow than the short ones, right? You can stand up and harvest them. Anybody can do it. And they're going to be the sugar snap pea variety. And you just want to check that they are a trellis type. The untrellised ones, I don't like as much. They're fine, but these are going to be the sweetest, best tasting ones, is the trellis. And they can go, you know, up to like 6-7 feet. You can see this one's already at about 6 feet. And these are going to be direct seeded, is probably your best bet. And you're just going to make a trench, put the peas in there, cover the trench, and put them nice and thick, right? Till, you know, we're talking like a 1/2 inch apart to 1 inch apart, straight down the row, so you get a nice thick stand of them on your trellis. You can do it by transplant, but you're going to need a lot of plants, right? Because you're going to need to put them right next to each other. So for, you know, just 10 feet, you'll need, you know, 150 plants to do it. But you can do it, and it works great. I do it too. And that'll give you a nice earlier pea and take away some of the risk. Because what can happen is, because peas are delicious, you can have voles eating the peas and other animals coming along and eating those peas. So make sure they're covered, and make sure you do it. You can do it before the last frost, but you don't want to do it too early where you're getting, you know, a lot of hard frost, because that's going to hurt the peas. But a light frost, they're going to be okay, because you want them to germinate readily and to grow fast, so that nothing comes along and eats them. Right, Riv? Peas need a lot of fertilizer, so fertilize well beforehand. And because, you know, for them to grow big and produce a lot of peas, they need a lot of fertilizer. And you're going to harvest them as soon as they start fattening up, right? They're going to start thin, and then they're going to fatten up with peas inside of them, right? So these are just starting to fatten up. And that's when they're going to be the sweetest, is once they're right, nice and fat. So you can start to get a few harvests of them. You get 2-3 harvests out of a stand, and that'll be over maybe a 2-week window. So if you're able to, you can do a couple of successions of peas in the spring if you're fast about it. Right, so the key is get a tall one, put them in the ground at the right time, which is, you know, after you have hard frost, but there's still some light frost, well fertilized, have a nice trellis, and you should be able to get really, really good harvest of peas. Now when I'm done, instead of ripping this off the trellis, the best thing to do is just, you can pull these out of the ground, right? Shake the dirt out a bit so that they will die. Then you can leave your trellis in place, and the wind, these will eventually dry out, break down, and the wind will take them away. The rest will fall to the ground and help fertilize the ground, and next year you can plant your peas in the same spot. If you want, you can actually put another crop of beans right afterwards. Once they dry out, you can do a fall green bean, a tall growing variety in its place, if you don't want to keep it unproductive for this area, you know, this area of your garden. Now, things that affect peas. My biggest pest is chipmunks. They climb up, they'll eat the inside, they'll pull the peas out, and they're kind of a pain. And I don't know what to do about them except get the peas off before they do. The other thing is they can be affected by fungus, mildew, things like that. And that's usually going to happen from weak plants. Weak plants are the ones that are going to die from fungus or disease or something. So it really comes back to the soil. A healthy plant is going to resist that and just do better. So again, it's not a situation where you need to spray or do anything. It's going back to the soil and making sure it's well balanced, well fertilized, lots of compost, organic matter, and you'll get a really nice stand of peas. And they need water, you know, to be able to produce well. And that's going to be done by organic matter in the soil, being able to hold that water. And if you do have to water them, then do it early in the morning, because peas really don't like being wet. So you don't want to do it late in the day, or in the evening is probably the worst. Let's say you've harvested all your peas, they've dried up, they're dead. What do you do now? Well, if you're not going to plant more peas, then you're just going to keep the trellis where it is till next year, and that's what I do. You know, in a garden, it doesn't matter. You don't need to, you know, reuse it this season. All I do is I grab the bottoms and I just pull them out of the ground, right? And just make sure they're dead. Right? That's really it. Right? You can also just cut them just above the soil, leave the roots in there, and provide organic matter. And then they're just going to completely die out. And then over the winter, the wind's just going to take them. And there's going to be very little left on the trellis, and you can just replant. You don't need to pull everything off and bring it to the compost. It's going to be perfectly fine, and it's really the easiest way to do it, is either pull it out or just cut it just above the soil surface and just leave them to dry out and die. And it's just going to probably blow into your garden and add more organic matter, and it's going to be great. And you don't have to do anything.